Hey there, everyone. Absolutely massive day if you're looking in the right spots of the market. BigBear.ai stock absolutely exploded today. So that ticker's BBAI stock. We're going to talk about that one. We're also going to talk about RZLV stock. And we'll also talk about Wolf. Apparently, I'm supposed to look at that one. People have been talking about for a while. I think it's time that I bring it to the channel, although I'll tell you, I got to do my research on that one. It sounds like it's pretty darn exciting and that people are very excited about it. I'll also talk about the background market bias that we have, and then we'll also talk about SoFi, Palantir, Bitcoin. We'll toss that stuff in as well. So guys, you can come on over to see the transactions that I made today, see the technicals that I put out, and the stuff that the other panel experts have to offer, as well as live trading services over there. There's an entire ecosystem over in the Discord. Code word doctor when you sign up. It's going to save you 50% off your first month sign up. So here's the cues that we're looking at. And I'll tell you what, today, even though we peaked at close to 593, pulling back a little bit, not really too decisive until we hear from Jerome Powell tomorrow at 2:30 p.m. Eastern time. So mark it on your calendars, but still in very good shape. General direction's up until we find out a reason to go otherwise. Over to IWM, take a look at the candle structure that we have because we got some serious buying pressure when we popped out below this trend line. Very narrow bodies that battle's being fought over what exactly should take place with the small cap stocks. And I'll tell you what, my penny stock video, best penny stocks to buy now because it seemed like a good time to do it with the way the market bias was setting up. September to remember, I figured that they would move up in outsized ways. That's worked out so far. Today, it's continuing to work out. So for IWM, watch for that push up above. You'll see what I'm talking about when I talk about BigBear.ai, although it's slightly different because that was more in a reversal, more so than a continuation state. We'll talk about when we look at its weekly chart, but risk on assets. If we have that September, remember that Jerome Powell comes out dovish, we get our rate cut as well, especially if it's a very favorable rate cut for us. I honestly think that there's a very good opportunity that should he do the unexpected and give us that 50 basis point cut, that he could still spin that story in a really good way that would be like, well, hey, cheaper, easier money to get. That should be more liquidity dumped into the market, more to be splashed around into the economy. That should be very good as well for companies, businesses out there, and small caps definitely stand to gain in outsized ways on that one. It's pretty darn excited. Bitcoin setting up for a nice little break. 117 is an important number to push up over because if you look a little bit to the left, you can see the shelf that we had back here. Last time we got those last two all-time highs for Bitcoin going all the way back to July 14th. And then again on August the 14th, getting those all-time highs. You can see the green line coming across your screen for where Bitcoin's price currently is. And that's going to be significant resistance, but with a big enough momentum push, we can certainly push up into that. If we can get north of 124 and sit on top of it rather than getting rejected at it and finding that selling pressure up there, we go into price discovery mode. And that's exciting for us because on the weekly chart, let me reset the view on this thing because up here we have that inverse head and shoulders, and I can show that to you better with a little bit of technical support. There we go. So the inverse head and shoulders should be coming up on your screen if I do a few things. There we go. Left shoulder head, right shoulder, neckline coming across here that I don't currently have it visible for you. But if we move that down here, $150,000 price tag, that would pop us out of the top of this bullish channel that you also see on here as well for Bitcoin. And up here with this red area that I have, this red rectangle, is that resistance zone that we're looking at where we keep on getting that massive selling pressure, and that comes in right around 120,000 and lasts until we get up to closer to 124,000. So like I said, sitting on top of that, absolutely massive. All right, so for the showstopper of the day today is that BigBear.ai stock. So I'm going to bring that down and bring you up here to my pretty face. You're welcome. So for BigBear.ai, I talked about the sell down that we got. Watch for the structural breakout. Well, we got that along with some consolidation confirmed with some subdued volume. I said watch for that volume pickup to happen. When it does, that's likely when we hit that accumulation phase. And then we can also watch for some other things for a flip to bullishness. And then I said the last 2 days have been exciting for us. Today could be a very big day, and it was up, I think, 16.7% on the day, pushing us up even above resistance. Let's put it up on the chart rather than just talking in generalizations here. So here's the daily chart, and I just want you to see, ignore all the things except for the green down here that was support and the red up here that was resistance, the massive candle that we got, and take a look at the volume that we got as well. So back here's that consolidation when we broke structure, and then there's the volume pickup. And when you start to compare it to the candles that we got here, I'll take down the technicals. There you can see the price movement upward. So we're starting to sit on top of the moving averages with an increase in volume. I said watch for today in my morning video, and there's that movement, exactly what we were looking for. Now, I do believe this to be a technical breakout for the moment, and we don't really have any confirmation of significant news today that caused that breakout to happen, but this could be some of that release of that pressure that we had. It could also be that some people are closing out short positions on it because they're starting to see signs that they don't really find all that favorable, especially that big question mark coming up tomorrow with the Fed's interest rate decision coming out at 2, Jerome Powell talking at 2:30. So what else is interesting about Big Bear AI's chart? Well, let's jump out to the weekly chart and take a look, because in my morning video, I talked about these 2 weekly candles that we have here, and that these are indecisive. They can show us reversal if we can get the candle up above going the other direction. And we also have volume so far. Even though it was low volume last week, we're already at last week's volume in 2 days. We still have 3 days to go, and usually after volume like we got today, that volume keeps on pushing, and usually that momentum can keep on climbing. Now, just like with Bitcoin, we're almost up against a shelf over here to watch, and that happens to go up until about 625, 630. So we want to really watch for that push, but this could be big enough that it allows us to do that. If we take a look at the momentum, we'll reset that for you and really zoom in. Sorry to make it jump around so much on this weekly chart. Weekly momentum is at 54.45. That's a bullish thing, and we also have price action above all of the moving averages on here. The 5, the 13, the 50, the 200. These are all very good signs. It could be that reset momentum that we've been looking for to push us up and over. And on a monthly basis, we're healthily at 58.96, so almost 59. That is perfectly bullish. Continuing that climb and momentum going, certainly not taking out the previous low that we had. We have a higher low now so far with this. As long as we can keep on pushing skyward for September, this could be really good for us. We got to watch that selling pressure that comes in as we get north of $6 per share. You can see historically, this has been a troublesome thing that anytime that we get up there, it's not long lived before we spent the majority of the time down below it. So we're really watching for what exactly comes next. This should be a good thing to catalyze us, allowing us to push a bit higher from here. We'll see if we get that drawback down with that. We retest the 50 EMA as support. Like I said, we're going to have to watch and see. According to the technicals, we have a big fat resistance starting at 625, like I said, and there's all sorts of lines that last all the way until we get up to about 677, and then we finally get a gap till we go to about 720. Now, mind you, this is a very choppy area versus this is a very tightly bound area. When you have these tight areas here of resistance, they're much more likely to be solid than these here, that when the momentum gets started and we're close to it, we could punch through that and find ourselves back up above $7 in the near term, which would be a pretty darn good climb from where it's at right now. That'd still be another 20% on top of the 16.7% that we got today for Big Bear AI. Usually a volume spike like that with the other technicals combined along with it, it should be good to enjoy the ride. I got my call option placed out on this, so I did take a long position today. I think I went out to January of 2016. I don't remember if I did like $5 or $5.50 for that strike price. It was in either one of those two. It's posted over at the Discord. Discord members can go and check it out in the expert panel channel that I have over there. And that'll tell you precisely what it was. And so I placed that one near the time that we broke that resistance. And that's similar to what I did for SoFi as we were back down near resistance, but this time as support. That was about the time I placed it, up handsomely on both of those call options today. So SoFi was that other one. So with that said, let's transition into SoFi so that you can see today's price action. There we go. Just looking at the daily candle, look at that buying pressure that we got. We came down from the open, which is all the way up here at 27.79, pushed all the way back down to 26.63, which is 2 cents above where I said we need to watch for the breakout above it. And if we drop down to an intraday chart and we take a look at some of the other lines that are in here from some previous minor peaks that we had, minor pivots, we only have to go back 2 trading days in time to see these other peaks associated. This one right here also being exactly at 26.63, came down, retested that. It was in this area as we were back down near here that I took that call option, and then we got that movement back upward. Nice move for SoFi. Daily chart, as we look at it, we're not in overbought territory. Weekly, we're a little overbought. monthly, we are overbought. So we'll see. And the monthly chart is definitely one worth looking at. Let me take down any of the technicals that I have here. The thing about the monthly chart to pay attention to is we're darn near the top of the all-time high, which is at 28.26. I think we can push back up above 28. I think there's probably going to be a significant pushback down when we do, at least initially. Initially, we'll see if the market bias is strong enough that we get a big enough September to remember that really pushes us up in all the securities that we have, or the stocks, ETFs, you name it, the ones that would move with the market, that would be a favorable movement that we would get. The risk on would be that favorable sentiment here. SoFi should benefit from that as well. We'll see if we continue to get that push. Palantir, we got to break up above 171.80, which is that previous high that we got just on Monday. I said, watch for the breakout above resistance. We did. That resistance, 162.05, and now we find ourselves already up from that, almost about $10 to the peak, and about $8 from today's close from all the way down there. Nice move on Palantir. I said watch for us to get caught up with these candles back here, and that's exactly what happened, that we're starting to get these peaks to coincide with what you find back in here. We can still get that push if the market goes bonkers to the upside because we get good things from the Fed. That can be something that could be very nice for us. So before I get into the other penny stocks that I said that I would talk about, just a little bit of commentary on the Fed, a little bit more than what I've said so far, and how the market might react. We might have the Fed come out and say things that aren't so bad, that put out that dovish sentiment that says that things are, yes, softer than we'd like. Inflation isn't moving up as much as we thought it would. We think maybe we saw the one-time inflation. As long as they tell us all those things, that can send the market to the moon. But it could also dip first and shake some people out and then take off. So shake people out of their positions and then make that move up. And that shakeout could happen intraday. It can happen across several days, and then the market just kind of leaves while people are like, oh, I guess this is bad. So I think either one of those two things are likely. There's also a likelihood that the Fed tells us things that we don't like, that even though he does the rate cut, that it's going to be the last one for a while until they reassess their positioning. I don't expect that to happen. It could happen. We'll have to watch and see what we get. As I've been looking at the CME FedWatch tool, it does look fairly favorable for several rate cuts between now and December of 2026. So with those rate cuts in place, easier monetary policy on the way, it should be really good for risk assets. And for the small caps that haven't quite recovered with that high interest rate environment, with that threat of higher inflation coming, yeah, we saw some recovery, especially where the penny stocks are, especially where Russell 2000 is. We've gotten that outperformance that I talked about since going all the way back to the beginning of Q3. I think that we could get that continuation. That continuation could last through Q4, and then we're going to just have to watch the other news and macro events that happen, geopolitical events that happen, anything that could really disrupt the market that you just couldn't call ahead of time. But the story as it goes right now, the signs are looking very bullish from how we're positioned. And I think that the net case, and even the market is expecting this, is that Powell's going to come out not to be the kind of bear that could crush things down, or not to be so hawkish that the market goes the other way. That would definitely be a rug pull by definition to see something like that happen. And I think it would not only catch me by surprise, I think it would catch a whole lot of people by surprise. It would be a very shocking thing. And then we would just have to play with that accordingly. So I think that's good commentary. All right, let's wrap things up with a few of the penny stocks here. We got BigBear.ai. RZLV, I talked about this, and I said, this one has just been too hot to touch. The volumes have been absolutely incredible. I'm going to take down the technicals for a moment. I'll reset this so you guys can see just across time, from volumes that you can't even see compared to what's out there now. We're not at the highest of all volumes, but certainly the most consistent of all volumes. Here it's kind of sporadic, and then here on this one, you can see just how much more often we've hit those volumes, going crazy overbought up to 91, finally giving a little bit back today, but not before punching a little bit higher. So let's bring up those candles so we can really look at those in a little bit more detail. So up here, this big red pepper that we got, it's showing us some selling pressure, but man, you can only punch through so many panes of glass before you finally, stop. And we started to get that 779 and the 816 level, and this thing finally got rejected and pushed back down. So anybody's in it, I don't mean to sound bearish at all. I don't. this is one I was actually hoping we would get a bit of cooling, where we could see enough of a cooling to a place to find support, such as down here at 664 or 620, and before catching that next rocket ship. Or maybe it's at the 5 EMA that's on here to catch that next rocket ship. When you look at the weekly chart, it becomes even more astounding to see what we're facing. So we got a little bit of a high wick, but this time, very high wick on that. Lots of selling pressure as we get up here, but we still have 3 more days to go. There's nothing that says that this can't punch higher from where it's at right now, but I still think that there's a time where we're going to get that sell off of the first movement and then start that second one back up. And I'm looking for that second wave because I think it could still be pretty profitable for us. Veri is one that I'm actually very interested in right now. VERI, Veritone Inc. And that's because of how it's looking on the daily chart. We've had some nice pushes up. This thing going all the way up from south of $2. And right now it's just south of $4. This thing, where did it peak out on us? It peaked out over that $4 mark before finding that selling pressure. What I'm looking for is that next movement that allows us to either break the top of this or come back down and test that support at about 324, maybe as low as 310. If we have that pullback this way, especially with the increase in volume that absolutely dwarfs what comes before it or what came before it, I think that second move could be coming our way, that we've gotten lower and lower conviction here, and that we're looking for that next time. Maybe it's the 13, as we got massive support the last time from 304 to punch all the way up above $4, up to $4.29. And now I think we're waiting for that next movement. It's not an overbought territory on the daily chart. Looking at the weekly chart, it's not overbought. Looking at the monthly chart, once again, it's just barely getting into that bearish, bullish territory where we're crossing up over 50. And when you look at the monthly chart, now you really start to get an idea of just how low we are in price at the moment. And now, mind you, even though low price doesn't mean opportunity, it does mean that there's a fair amount of room to the upside, where it could take us a while to find those other resistances, such as if we're able to finally pop here and overtake these previous pivots that we have. We have some evidence of pivots right around the mid 4s, but certainly we have some other peaks to look forward to at like 569. If we can break that, then we start to take on 760. And just once again, look at the volume structure that we have and how much excitement there's been with VERI. And just in the past 3 months, if we look in a longer term perspective, this is not a fundamental analysis of the company by any means, but we are coming off that double bottom that we have down here. We're starting to see that run. We have room all the way up to the 50 EMA at $5.77 on the monthly chart. On the weekly, 557 is where you find that 200 EMA. And on the daily chart, we have just a perfect movement so far, where the 5's above the 13, the 50, and the 200. That's near-term bullishness that we're looking at. So I think that one stays pretty exciting. Digital Turbine Apps, APPS is the ticker symbol for it. So for this one, the 13 is about to cross the 50. The 5 already did. So I talked about this one Monday morning for my best penny stocks to buy now. We got a 9% pop. And then today, another 6% on top of it. And that 13 crossing the 50 is a bullish thing. And you can see just recently where we had that price action prior to their earnings that allowed this thing to just climb astoundingly up to close to $8 per share. So right now we're in this area of chop right now. So it could be tough, but if we can get over that 578 mark, so another, we'll say 10% from where it's at right now, which could be pretty significant. I still think that has room to really push up and go higher from here in terms of the best penny stocks to buy now. I was asked in the Discord about Wolf, and so I'll give my take about Wolf. So this is Wolfspeed Inc. And it sounds like from that person who was a fan of Wolf, it sounds like they're pretty excited about the technology, and people even commented on my YouTube videos about checking out Wolf. So I'm going to start checking it out. I started putting up my preliminary technicals on this. This is not the full list of technicals, but what's up here when you look at the pivots that are present, we got in that pivot territory. So one of the early signs we should be looking for is sitting on top of $3.52. If we can sit on top of that with a candle, we got room up to $4.79. And we're starting to see that volume structure where we get that true breakout. And yeah, we've made significant movement, because this thing not so long ago was at $1.28, and it's 2x since that time. Matter of fact, almost close to 3x by the time that we hit the peak of that, before settling back down to where today's close is. So that could be some of that rest that we've been looking for, and it could set up a really nice next movement on this one, which could send us back to retesting resistance if it breaks, being that it's fairly significant resistance that should really help us out from here to push us even higher. And so gotta say, that one could be very exciting. I want to read up on the technology because I am a computer nerd, and it sounds like they are in the computing space with semiconductors. There you go, focused on silicon carbide and gallium nitride materials for devices. And like I said, I'm not going to get into all the nerd stuff right now. Don't exactly know all of the significance of what it means as I read it, but the fact that people are excited about it means that there could be some promise there. I think it's at least worth a preliminary read, and if I like what I find in that preliminary read, I'll keep on reading, I'll keep on digging, and maybe it ends up being a company that even gets my investment, which I'm very, we'll say, I'm not very inclined to invest in individual companies all the time. So SoFi, Tesla, NVIDIA, companies like that, that I've found to have a lot of promise with CEOs that can just perform over time again and again. Individual companies like those. Palantir, I did not take a position in, but I want to take a position in that one. And I have a list of good companies that I'm looking into and waiting for the right opportunity. And I know people can say, why wait? Dollar cost average. I get that. But for me, that's where the Qs come into play. QQQM is a good one for me. SPY is also a nice, good one for me where it has that innate diversification, or it's inherent in the structure of the ETF. So guys, I'm going to let you go on this one. Let me know if you're excited about Big Bear AI stock. Let me know if any of these other penny stocks, Wolf, RZLV, are they ones that are big stocks for you? Are you very excited about them? What about the market, the Fed, whatever it is you want to talk about? Come on over to Discord if you really want to chat about it, because there not only is it me, but the other expert panelists, thousands of members there. We can talk money all the time. I know that I don't have a lot of people in my personal life to talk money about. Some close friends such as Stockmo, Crypto Will, who also likes to talk just money in general, not just crypto, but they're also members of the Discord. You can talk with them as well. And really, it is an entire ecosystem there. Use code word doctor to get 50% off when you sign up. And if you want to learn the technical analysis like you see on here, if you want to learn how to trade those technicals, if you want to use options to outsize those gains, if you want to learn how to make that happen, there's some coursework through Stockmo Academy. Small, easy to digest pieces of coursework that people cannot rave enough about. And I've embedded them myself as a professional in education, 18 years of experience in growing with my doctorate in education, and exactly reading through that coursework and looking how they're structured and designed. They're just absolutely perfect. Code word doctor also works on those, a $400 discount on the courses. If you get the courses to bundle, if you bundle the courses, you also get a bundle discount on top of it as well. And it is a great investment for building your knowledge base for how the markets work and how options work, how technicals work, all that kind of stuff, and how to trade in them that can really add that alpha to your portfolio that you're looking for, and also help to build you up in your journey towards financial freedom. So guys, thank you very much for watching. I am Dr. Stock, Doctor of Education. Remember, my friends, that learning is earning, and we'll see you next video.